Okay, great. Guys, that was Elizabeth, can you stop laughing? We're recording.
No, I was laughing because I accidentally grunted into the mic.
We'll stop. I know we just had like 40 minutes of technical issues, but if you could stop grunting,
I will stop grunting immediately. I'm sorry.
Welcome to Podpodcastcast.
Perfect. Welcome to Podpodcastcast. It's a podcast where we talk about other podcasts. I'm Sam.
And I'm Honor.
Okay, whatever. I have to give up. One day, Honor, I've convinced myself that I'll straighten out your intro, but it's always some version of mumbling or enunciating, occasionally singing, and it's never just, hi, I'm Honor. Whatever.
No, because that'd be boring.
I'm Honor.
Yeah, thank you for clapping out the
syllables,
Elizabeth. And we're joined by a wonderful syllable counter, Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
I just learned how to do that recently.
Yay.
Hello, Samuel. Samuel.
Elizabeth, our noted kindergarten graduate.
Yes.
We're very proud of you.
Yep. Not yet, but soon. In May.
In May.
Also, I think one of our maybe first returning guests on the show.
Is that true?
Maybe. I thought you
so.
had somebody return already. I was talking to my roommate, fan of the show, Joan, this morning, and she said, "Are you the first guest to go back on Podpodcastcast?" And I said, "My darling, I have no earthly clue."
Believe this is true.
It wasn't that tender of a conversation, actually.
We can imagine, though.
It was a lot of anger.
Fun.
There's a lot of rage. No, I think it's true. I think you are our first returning guest.
Woohoo!
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I think this is a milestone in the Podpodcastcast climb to greatness.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big moment in your career.
Yeah. As a podcast guest, for sure.
Yeah, you've been invited back to your first podcast, which must have meant that you did not so bad.
Must have.
No, for a while. This is true. So, Elizabeth, you came on last year a little earlier, about this time, and you had, what was the episode? Oh, I forget.
Like, what did I do?
No, the name of the episode. The episode was the Lonely Island of Seth Meyers podcast episode. And for a while, you were our most listened to episode.
Flattery.
So kind of, I would say, pod royalty.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what I would say.
Thank
about
you so much. I'm so honored.
I like so honored because at first I thought you were going to do like a pod
I'm
joke.
so Sammed.
Whoa. And now you've so both to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in, Elizabeth. You are saving our bacon because we had another guest lined up. And I think they were struck by a meteor.
Probably.
Or else got the bubonic plague. I'm not sure on the details. They had to cancel, and I was filled with
I heard that they just sort of discorporated. Sent the email with what remained of their finger.
I like discorporated because it's not a word I've heard before, but it does make it sound like they are.
I'm not sure that it is a word.
Yeah, but it feels like that's what they did in Infinity War.
Yes, that's exactly what I was.
Or else, they are, a multinational company.
One of two things.
Yeah, and so we were gonna have the Coca-Cola company on, but they decided to quit. I know. So I guess we'll settle for Elizabeth. No, we're very excited to have you, and you've suffered with us through many technical difficulties. So greatly appreciated. We have an insane setup right now. We have 2 laptops open, 1 desktop computer that is actually recording. We're running this over a separate call service. Italy is still. Honor is still in Italy. Italy is still in Honor. She's got it in her heart right now.
Italy still got Honor.
I'm
also still in an outdoor cafe area on my end of things.
Well, little known fact, and this is why you don't hear many Italian podcasts, they don't have studios over there. They all record in cafes.
They haven't invented them yet. Well, because I'm pretty sure in Italy, it was just like all about the Renaissance inventions. They were like, well, we've done it once. We've had a period of productivity. We don't need to invent anything else.
I think that is exactly right. I'm, I'm a fan of like military technology. And if you've ever looked at Italian tanks, it is just that thing that Leonardo da Vinci made, like the turtle.
Yep.
But God bless him, They're like, it's like the high school football quarterback, And sure, he's 55, but he's living through his
If it ain't broke.
If it ain't broke, keep speaking Italian,
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Speaking of speaking Italian, we're not going to do that. We're going to speak about podcasts.
In English.
In English.
Wow.
Okay. Guys, I want to talk about a podcast today that is a little different than other pods that I usually talk about. Today, I'm talking about Bird Note. Have either of you heard about Bird Note?
I can imagine it as a form of communication between avian creatures.
In class.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Or like...
Yeah, the notes
I have
of
not
their
heard of
song.
Bird Note.
I
Of
think,
their beautiful bird song.
I think, Elizabeth, you absolutely nailed the first note of a Bob White quail's call.
Thank you.
You
I
need to
tried.
do more.
Thank
But
you.
you got Bob. You didn't get Bob White, but you got Bob.
Yeah.
Which is something I know in part because I listened to Bird Note. Okay, so Bird Note, I heard about Bird Note because of my brother. My brother, if you're listening to this, love ya. Big fan of Podpodcastcast, but even bigger fan of birds. Loves birds. Big bird guy. And so he sent me a text the other day, and he was like, hey, if you're looking for a good podcast, you should listen to Bird Note. And I believe he said it's a really good, light podcast. Each episode is short, and he referred to them, I believe, as juicy little nuggets.
Ooh.
And nothing interested me more than the phrase juicy little nuggets, because it's not how I would describe any podcast. So I was like, okay, I'll listen to this maybe once, just, I'm not a bird guy. I don't really care about the rats of the sky. I'm not that interested.
Sure.
But I'll listen to one, right? So the episodes are really short. So they're like 1 to 2 minutes long, which is crazy. It's a daily podcast, which I think is also crazy. The only other daily podcasts I've heard of are like daily news shows. Mm-hmm. But it's a daily like bird fact podcast. And you just listen in.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and I hate to spoil the ending here. It is awesome.
Oh!
It's delightful. Yeah, so you tune in, and it's very NPR style. They tell you some bird facts. It's like did you hear that? Nugga, nugga, nugga. That's a western sapsucker gnawing on a chiseled pine. It's very sweet and kind of. Like,
It sounds relaxing. Do you feel like this podcast is like spending time with a grandpa? To what degree is it like spending time with a grandpa?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say, maybe a 6. So maybe I should say it's like spending time with a grandpa, but just in the way that like grandpas are slow, you know, and the world is taken a little slower in this way. But this does not remind me of either of my grandfathers, like my grandpas weren't particularly like, have you heard about chickadees and how they make the sound chickadee, chickadee?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I wish my grandpa would tell me that.
I know. If only we had bird dads, grandpaps.
I find it interesting that you say that it kind of has that like slow and reflective energy, because you would really think with the length of it that they'd really be packing it in.
It doesn't feel rushed, It feels still very NPR-y. It still feels very calm. Some of it reminds me of watching CBS Sunday morning with my mom when I was a little kid. Elizabeth got so excited she whacked the microphone.
I did love CBS Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I said CBS Sunday morning. My mother and my actual real life grandfather, her father, watch it every Sunday morning.
Truly delightful.
That's so beautiful.
It reminds me of in that show they had like a moment of nature, right? And you just like watch nature for a little while. And that's some of what Bird Note is. Now, it's not just bird sounds. There's a variety of episodes, a surprising variety of episodes. So there is some stuff that like is just bird fun facts, right? So it's like, did you know that this bird did this? Like there's an episode on pelicans and how pelicans dive, and they dive from really high up, but how does it not hurt them? And it tells you all their like adaptations. They've got air sacs that act as cushioning.
What?
They've got their larynx on one side of their neck, which is good. They dive at a strict angle. Like they tell you some things that you like half
fascinating.
remember, right?
I love this resource for learning concentrated bird facts.
Right? It really, if you're a bird person, it's like straight into the veins, injected. Yeah. And then there's other stuff which is like bird calls. You're like, okay, you've now told me about the 7 types of chickadees and what they all sound like. I get it. But there's also some like, it's not just that. Like there's stuff that you wouldn't expect. So there's also a lot of episodes about people's experiences with birds. So there's like an episode, one of the most recent episode is about a woman who is a bus driver, but sometimes she drives the bus like ahead of schedule. So she needs to stop and like not so she
Yes,
meets
so she
schedule.
can stay in.
And so when she does this, she just watches birds. And
That's
it's just
awesome.
it's a 2-minute episode about her thoughts on birds.
I would love to know a bus driver lady's thoughts on birds.
And you could do
She's
that.
the authority, I feel like. What a slice of life.
There's also an episode about the Galbatrosses, which is a group of women who are advocating for bird watching, specifically female birds, and how it gives them a better perspective on birds as individuals and not a species.
Interesting.
There's like a whole thing. There was a episode about a author and these 2 crows that she befriended. This is weird. But there's even like more like weirder stuff than that. Like there's like history, which is like history on birding and how the first guy figured out how like migration patterns by looking at the moon.
Wow.
They had like episodes which are just reading poetry about birds.
This is a bird variety show.
It is a bird variety show. I think that's absolutely true. My favorite, like, I'm like, okay, they're just making like jokes. They're just memeing now. Was they had an episode in which they were like, out here on the fields of Antietam, even the birds wrote home during the war. And then they had the classic like Civil War like fiddle tune playing in the background. Well,
So
birds
they
were,
have like Soldier's Joy.
yeah, like swallow Bethany, my beloved. The war is a hard one, and it is not good. And then they're like, that's just a joke. Birds don't really do that.
Whoa, could have fooled me.
But they
Thanks
do
for
live at
telling
these,
me.
right? Yeah. But they do live at these historic sites.
That's really wonderful.
So I was ready for it just to be like, have you heard of birds? Let us tell you about blue jays, right? And it is that at some point. But
Well, I think it's important to have a podcast available for people who haven't heard of birds and need to know
Yeah.
about blue jays.
right. Well, and it's good. Like you do learn bird facts.
Yes.
And if you are a birder or you want to get into birds or you have a brother that likes birds, I think that is good just to learn more bird facts.
But not a sister.
If your sister likes birds, watch the freak out, dude. Get out of there. That's dangerous.
Stop
What if
having
my-
a sister.
What if my dad likes birds?
Is your dad someone's brother?
Uncategorized.
Is your dad someone's brother? Do you
Oh,
have
that's
an
true.
aunt or uncle?
Yes.
Mm.
All right, you're safe.
If you're
He's been categorized.
if you're an only child, I mean, things get really confusing in this system.
Yeah.
But it's more than that, which I was surprised by. They're making more than just like it really. I'm not a bird guy, but it feels like I've been let in a little bit on the bird community and the several different angles of bird appreciation. It also does feel like this is a daily podcast. They need to think of things to fill it.
Yes.
And occasionally they let the intern write the skit where the bird is a Union soldier.
Thank God. I mean, it sounds like they know. If you're a daily podcast that's making a bunch of tiny episodes, you do have to open yourself up to a lot of things, I think. And how wonderful to learn that birds are such a rich subject matter. I didn't know.
There are over 1,000 episodes.
I thought you were going to say there are over 1,000 birds.
There are over 1,000 birds.
Which I'm pretty sure is also true.
I speak facts.
Would, How? Hold
Yeah.
on. I'm gonna Google it. How
Well,
many
how many
birds
birds?
are there?
Are there? Not bird species, just how many
How many
birds?
birds? Can we get
No,
an
just
estimate?
how many
Currently.
birds are there? Let's see what it says. New research estimates there are between 50 billion and 430 billion. That's such a wide range.
That's entirely too many.
That we got more than 1 billion birds on Earth.
There are over
There's more birds than
11,000
people.
living
That's
species.
upsetting.
I feel like
They
that's
outnumber
fine,
us.
actually.
No, I don't like it.
What if every person has 6 chickens?
That's ridiculous.
All right.
We need a.
You heard it here first, folks. Sam hates modern farmers.
Wow.
Samuel Herner is opposed to the small family farm.
I like you talking like NPR, but doing like political hit jobs. I think that's an exciting angle for your career.
Can that be our daily podcast?
That's what we should do. Yeah, it's very delightful. It's very light. There's a lot to go through. You can just like start far back in the catalog, and it'll just play all the episodes up till current. And you're just gonna like get, you'll listen to like 30 episodes, and then you'll get an hour's worth of birds, and it's very nice. It's got like good intro music. It's a wonderful experience. There is something that this makes me think about though, which is this the TikTokification of podcasts?
Oh, interesting.
Because I've heard of daily podcasts, right? But I've never heard of a 1-minute podcast. It almost feels like, is that it?
Like a little bite.
Yeah, right?
Do you know if this podcast has a TikTok account?
I do not know. I do not know if they make clips. It would be so easy.
Yeah, like you
Maybe
could
to-
just put the whole episode up on TikTok every day. And then I'm almost like, why make it into a podcast? So I'm like, maybe there's an added level of being in it for the love of the game.
I think that's also part of it. I think that it was definitely envisioned as like, we're going to contribute to public radio. And we also like birds. But it feels like this is a part of podcasting that is underexplored, right? Because I think probably the shortest podcast that I would listen to besides this is maybe, 10 minutes long. I can't even think of something that's this short besides maybe like an announcement or a trailer for something. So I wonder, I would kind of like to see other ways for this to be explored. I don't know if it would be good. People are all in the reels, the shorts, the TikToks these days. I don't know if it would be good to make short form podcast, but this was, perfect.
I think it depends on who's making it, because you're right that like it kind of maybe makes it easy to make something that's lower quality or like consume it more mindlessly. But I think having it be so short presents them with a lot of advantages. For one, like if you're talking about the public radio piece, they could be like in between other shows if they are getting broadcasted on actual radio. But you talked about one of the charms of this podcast is that it's such a wide range of things with just the through line being birds. And I think like if you did what you usually do and picked 30 episodes to listen to and they were actually just one episode, it would feel really like disjointed and chaotic and all over the place.
Sure.
And so maybe it's good. The other thing is like people can kind of curate what facet of that broad topic they're interested in. For me, podcasts a lot of the time are like too long. I have trouble listening to them. So like a lot of my favorite podcasts are broken up into segments and I listen to it in pieces. And so I think there can be an advantage to it for sure.
Yeah, I think that is like an intimidating factor for some people in podcasts is just length. I mean, I know that you really like long podcasts, right? You're like 4 hours. That's not even nothing.
Right.
I listened to 14 hours of podcast in the last 2 days.
Wow, that's so many hours.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of podcasts. You're a consumer, a cruncher of
You
podcasts.
did almost 2 full shifts
Yep.
listening to podcasts. Honor, also, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a lover of it, like a narrative podcast.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
those tend to not be as broken up or break up.
Well, I mean,
like within a single
let's be
episode.
specific. Honor likes D&D podcasts, which
I
you
like
can
narrative
just
and D&D podcasts, and the D&D podcasts get even longer than the narrative podcasts.
right, because you can just record people
a
playing
session,
and
not
it doesn't
cut anything out.
Yeah.
There's if you're writing a story, like it takes just so much more work to produce the same amount of stuff. So I don't know. I would be interested to see maybe if people would be interested in shorter form podcasts like this one, if this is something that might take off. It does feel weird for the normal demographic, the normal kind of consumer of podcasts, because I think a lot of people I want to listen to a podcast to kind of fill the air while I'm driving, while I'm cooking, while I'm cleaning. And so having a 30-minute or an hour-long podcast, I think, is what they want because they don't want to change it over very often.
Yeah.
And so maybe having a short podcast like this is not what they want. But honestly, I listened to it for like 2 hours while I was doing something the other day. And
Just
it was,
letting it autoplay.
yeah, and it was great. And I
Yeah.
was like, cool. I come in and I'm like, that's what this episode is about. That's fine. And it moves on to the next one. It was very good.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Also, like most platforms it's going to be on have that option. Or they can make playlists of like, hey, if you want to listen to all of the episodes that are just like, this is a yellow-crested warbler suckling on a sap tree or whatever you said. You can do that. I think also something that really appeals to me about the short form of it is that this is an educational podcast, and so I can go and I can learn something and feel like I learned something really fast.
Yes.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like to gather a fact.
Right.
I'm not big on TikToks or short form video in general, but my favorite ones are the ones where somebody teaches me a fact.
Really
like it's
quick.
like a
And you're
museum curator and being like, look at this old snail. And then I'm like, yes, thank you. And my day is improved.
Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that Sam would enjoy this form because he's always looking for a short podcast. But I also just immediately think of what's the math then if, say, this was a bi-weekly podcast instead, they're putting out a 15 to 30 minute episode if you're putting together 14 of these 1 to 2 minute episodes. That's normal length. So it feels less to
Normal.
me like
Yeah.
they're pumping something out to pump out like TikTokified podcasts, and more like this kind of equates to the same thing, but it does make sense to do it daily, sort of, as especially I can imagine if you listen to it daily, it's like maybe you, as part of your morning routine, you're like, I put on the episode while I brush my teeth, and then I learn my fun little fact, and I go to work and I watch birds.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the primary vision, actually. Maybe it's for people brushing their teeth.
Maybe it's for teeth brushers.
Yeah.
It's for
Not
teeth
bird
brushers.
watchers. Maybe it's so that you know how long you should brush your teeth.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that you're right that it's like a comparable amount of work to other like podcasts. I think it is interesting that the format that they chose, because I think it makes it a lot more approachable. You know what I mean? Like if I was, because I'm not a bird guy, but if you're like, hey, do you want to listen to this 15-minute thing about birds? I'd be like, oh, maybe. But it's like, I'll listen to a 1-minute thing about birds? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say a great podcast. Will I keep listening to it? I don't know. I'm not a big bird guy.
I mean, it's low commitment.
It is low commitment. So if I'm just, maybe I'll just,
Do you plan to ever brush your teeth again?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to go British mode. You know, really let that plaque build.
And did you do it this morning?
Yeah, but
Oh,
last
I-
day. I'm
You
sorry.
wouldn't know it by looking at you.
Shut up. This is but you're mean. I find you're so mean.
It's true.
It's true. It's true. It's true. His teeth are bad.
No, his teeth look normal, and he smells normal. I didn't smell him closely.
Speaking of smells, I think this podcast smells lovely. I'm gonna say a 4 out of 5 podcast. A 4 birds out of
Nice.
5 birds. Yeah, this is a great bird. I would say it's a red-winged blackbird. It's a very good bird, and I like it very much. I don't know that it's. I'm not a big
nice.
bird guy, so I don't know if I'll keep listening to it. But I think it's a delight. So, I like it. Honor.
Love that.
I'm almost afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been liking recently?
So, you could say this is similar because there's a bird in my podcast. So,
I would say that's similar.
I've noted a similarity. All right, I've constructed the Venn
connected them.
diagram.
I've connected the dots.
uh-huh.
And they're together.
Okay.
Honor, I know a little bit about what you're going to talk about, so let's hit us.
So, I'm talking about one campaign of a D&D podcast I have mentioned before on the show. Just Roll With It. Which is, I think, something that scares Sam.
It's true. I'm very frightened by it.
Can we
Yeah.
get a recap of Just Roll With It for the people who are definitely really committed Podpodcastcast fans, but maybe don't listen to every single episode?
Well,
Yeah.
is this the one with Charlie Slimesicle, the YouTuber guy that you like?
Yeah, it is. So, this is a podcast. This is a D&D podcast. Everyone act surprised. But I've mentioned it before because their main campaign is one of my favorite podcasts of all time, which that one is still unfinished, and I also still haven't reviewed that one. Technically speaking, Just Roll With It has never been reviewed on this podcast, but I've mentioned it and been like, what if we listen to it? Or, like, you know, comparing this to one of my favorite shows, Just Roll With It. So it's sort of just a reputation at this point for our listeners, who of course only listen to podcasts that we recommend.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the idea that, like, I don't know, I'm not allowed to listen to any podcasts unless they tell
No.
me I can.
The only podcast they've
Yeah.
ever individually chosen to listen to is Podpodcast.
Is this one.
Yeah, right.
And so, Just Roll With It has multiple different campaigns. Some of them are on their Patreon, some of them are for free on YouTube or podcasting apps or whatever. And one of their recent campaigns that has been available to the public is Wonderlust. So this is a podcast. Some people might know the cast from YouTube of various kinds, gaming YouTube generally. There's Charlie Slimesicle, there's Bisley, there's Grizzly. These are different people. And Condifiction, Condi. They're not really important, but people might recognize their names if they're in those circles. Wonderlust, specifically, is DM'd by Bisley. They change up who DMs through Just Roll With It, which I think is really fun and adds sort of different tones to different things. So Bisley's the DM of this one, and it's a steampunk campaign.
Ooh,
So very Victorian with robots and gears and steams and
Yeah.
all the and
Punks.
airships.
airships. Yeah.
Striped pants. You know, they're always wearing their pinstripes.
I guess. Yeah, maybe.
I know about it.
I'm trying to think if
Elizabeth
there's
knows
anyone
about
with
steampunk.
pinstripes. I don't think so.
I mean, you can't see them. They might be wearing it and you just don't know.
That's true. Well, I mean, a character described as wearing pinstripes. The characters have descriptions, Sam.
Yes. Yeah, I believe you.
You use this thing called your imagination.
Yeah, but what if they just wanted that to be private information for them?
Yeah, I wouldn't keep
that's
that
true.
just for me.
It's just for me. No one can know.
Yeah.
No one else knows what I'm thinking in this podcast.
Yeah. So the main premise of this world that they're playing in is that it is this place where they're on this island, and the main area of this island is like steampunk Wonderland. There's the College of Dreamers and Doers. There's steam sledding being one of the main sports because it's really
Hell
snowy
yeah.
here.
What?
One of the characters.
No, I'm not even.
What's the steam part of the sledding?
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
Wouldn't it
but I'm
melt
like, I
the
feel
snow?
like this is more than I want.
It's like, you know when you kick on the nitrous?
You kick on the steam. You
Kick on the
she got all
steam,
that
and
coal
also
and you
there's
said-
nitrous. Both of those things.
Like laughing gas?
No, like in Fast and Furious, you know, when you go like nitro and like the car goes faster.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
You know?
didn't realize that was the technology. I bet they were just
Yeah.
like pouring nitrous into their
I don't
tank.
know
or whatever.
what, dude.
I
don't
have
know how
never
Fast
in
and
my
Furious-
life seen Fast and Furious. I've
Never?
seen.
Not
I've
even the
seen
one with The
pictures.
Rock?
I've seen pictures of Vin Diesel.
Okay,
he in
you've
it?
seen it.
That's
I've
the
seen.
same.
You've got it. I mean, that's basically all those movies are.
I've seen The Babysitter. No, that's not what it's called. Whatever that movie is with Vin Diesel in it.
Yeah.
Honor, does your podcast have Vin Diesel?
I do think he's mentioned.
Big.
Ding. That's the Vin point.
That's a Vin point. One of the character's main shtick is that he goes to the College of Dreamers and Doers, and he's on the steam sledding team, and he's like really invested in it, and it's like his whole thing. He's very much like a bro. He's really stupid and yells a lot. That's the vibe. His name is Troy
Delightful.
Logford. Also, his family's rich. Troy ends up, because he loses a race, he gets mad. It's a thing where he like follows the person who won the race afterward, because he's like, I'm gonna beat them up or something. I don't remember because it becomes unimportant.
Is that
very
the line
quickly.
that he says?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
do.
he says,
something.
I'm gonna beat him up or something.
I'm gonna beat him up or something. But then he ends up falling down a hole when he's following this person. Because on this island, there's the part up top that's very prosperous. There's all these mechanics. Do you hear the toll? This is gonna keep happening.
Just barely. The toll I would never notice if you didn't say anything about it.
I just cannot take.
Well, it will get
I
louder
cannot
in a
take you.
second.
Stop talking to go. Do you hear the toll?
Do you hear the
Do you hear the
toll?
toll?
Okay, well,
Makes it sound like I am.
I'm
dying.
guessing we'll have to pause it for
Yeah.
the toll anyway, so I should let you know that the name of the Vin Diesel movie is The Pacifier. And I very silently slid a picture of it over to Sam. while
And
you
I
were
think it has made my whole day.
That's awesome. Well,
Imagine that.
I feel like a clock tower. Actually, a clock tower is really thematic for this podcast
Okay.
because there is a huge clock tower, but it's underground. But also there's a city inside of it. But also, just more largely,
Neat.
there's an underground section of the city, which is where the above ground part throws all of their trash and stuff. And there's people who
Ooh.
live underground that are like animal hybrid people.
Oh, so it's like Futurama.
Kind of.
Sure.
So are all the
I've
people
never
on the
seen
surface just
Futurama.
people?
Yeah, they're just regular humans. Troy is the most normal-looking, blonde-haired, blue-eyed person you've ever seen. And then
Oh, that's
the other
normal.
characters, yeah, that's normal.
Interesting.
The like scowl
other
that you gave me,
characters-
Elizabeth.
are Blink, who is an owl person, and he works
name.
as a delivery person underground. He's kind of just making ends meet. He kind of couch surfs all the time, doesn't like have one place he lives, but he delivers things everywhere, so he's always moving around. And he's on the run, like trying to hide from the Vixens, who's like a street gang
Like of ladies?
of foxes. At
Oh,
least
sure.
One of them is a fox. Yeah, one of the
Makes sense.
leaders is a fox person.
I got pretty excited.
Yeah, no, it's okay. There are ladies. There's girls in this podcast.
Are there girls in this podcast?
There's girls
Yes!
in this podcast. Yeah.
Are there girls in the bird podcast?
I don't think so. I don't think not a
No,
single
the
one.
Galbatrosses.
Yeah. there's
No,
the
I think those were men.
Okay. There are girls in this podcast, and there's a girl who's one of the other starting characters who is a rat girl named Runt. And Blink and Troy are both like 20-something years old, and Runt is a 16-year-old girl who is self-described as the smartest girl in the world, and she's probably right. But she ends up involved because she has been kicked out of a gang called the Street Rats because of a heist that went wrong, because they will go up to the surface and steal things because, you know, all the nice things are up on the surface. So if you want to get rich, you got to go there, but it's dangerous because you're little rat people, and that's illegal. So Runt also gets it thrown into the mix. They end up going on this adventure to find someone just called the Inventor, because Blink has to deliver a package, and everyone else becomes invested through other means. They go on wacky hijinks.
Naturally.
And then they become more involved in this conflict involving the Inventor, where there's all these different factions in the city, both above ground and below, who are invested in finding the Inventor for mostly nefarious reasons. And this ends up all coming to a head because there is a church in the underground part of this city that they end up revealing that all the animal people came from a different planet and ended up like crashing here, but then they were ostracized from above ground, and so they want to develop technology because the Inventor has been working on technology to try to unlock teleportation, and so they want to teleport back to their planet.
Back to the planet.
Except every time teleportation has been done successfully, there's been some level of explosion. And so then our protagonists, including someone else that they pick up later, WD, who is like a fox person
40?
hybrid. WD, I believe her name is a play on WD-40, but just dropped the
Is that
numbers
okay? Is
part.
that a real bit, or is that just Elizabeth's bit?
No, that's real.
Oh,
That's
wow.
actually-
Elizabeth,
that's
keen
actually
instincts. Holy cow.
I am very sharp.
I mean, if you say steampunk podcast
That's what happens
and
if you give me a bat.
WD, she is like a tinkerer.
Yes.
Yeah, she and Runt are both tinkerers and inventors and things, but WD is more on the side of everything she touches explodes, and Runt is the smartest girl on Earth.
So sort of more of a exploder then.
Yeah, less a tinkerer, more of a demolitions expert.
Ooh, yeah.
She's good at fixing things, but when she tries to make anything original, it ends up blowing up. That's just how it goes.
Sure, well, that's normal.
That's normal.
I mean, that happens.
Who among us hasn't? blown something
Exactly.
up?
So then they're like, well, if these people are trying to do big teleportation technology to teleport all the animal people back to the planet, and every time we've seen teleportation happen on a small scale, there's been some kind of explosion, this might destroy the whole world. It might just destroy the whole world if they do this. So they're like, well, we have to stop them. And they do. There's also, you know, individual character side plots where WD has a romance with the girl who is revealed to be the Inventor the whole time. The Inventor is sort of this fake persona that was made up, never been real.
Like Wizard of Oz-ish?
Yeah, kind of Wizard of Oz-ish. She is around through a lot of the campaign and is like the Inventor's assistant, but actually she just is the Inventor.
Whoa.
She's lying.
Big. She invented... Never mind.
She invented the Inventor. No way, you're right.
I was just going to be like, but she can't because she's a woman.
Oh.
I was holding myself back. I was
Yeah,
holding
Sam.
myself back from being an anti-feminist. So, Honor, you kind of laid out the premise.
Yeah.
You know, the broad shape of things. So is this podcast done? Like you said, you listened to
Yes.
14 hours of podcast recently. So is it, how long is this podcast and have you gotten to the end?
Yeah, I have finished it. This is not all of the campaigns that Just Roll With It has done. Well, I guess most of them are finished. But Riptide is their main campaign and is not finished. This campaign is finished. It finished very recently.
Is it on their Patreon? Because I know you're a fan of their Patreon.
It is one of the free
this is public?
podcasts. Yes, this is public. You can find it on YouTube or any podcast app of your choice. And it is 29 episodes, and each episode is sort of in the realm of an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. The finale episode is a little over 3 hours, but that's definitely the longest episode. So it is long.
A little hefty.
In Sam terms. But as far as D&D podcasts go, it's fairly short.
Yeah, I mean, yes, this is true. You are correct. In absolute terms,
correct.
it is long. Relative to other D&D podcasts, it's not that long.
Yeah.
It's not as long as like Critical Role, which is like, I don't know, 60 episodes that are all like 4 hours each.
Or even like a season of Dimension 20, a lot of them are 20 episodes and each episode's 3 to 4 hours. Something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how insane D&D people were until this moment.
Well, it's great content, like we discussed earlier, because you just don't have to edit it.
You just press record, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I shouldn't say you don't have to.
No. Yeah, what if somebody has to
definitely got to edit.
What if somebody does?
Well, if it's video, you're cutting between people. But if you live stream it, then you can just do all that live, and then you've spent 4 hours making the thing, and the thing is 4 hours long.
Yeah.
It's a different beast.
Sure.
I was going to say, one of the things I think is interesting about this podcast is that whenever they're doing like roleplay scenes, it's pretty unedited. They leave sort of the natural flow of everyone's dialogue, clearly, because that's part of it. But when you get into the battle parts of the episodes, it's not like they cut anything that takes away from the context or following people's decision making, but I do think they cut more of people sort of figuring out what they're going to do, and they just get to the explanations of what people decide to do and then what the result is. So I think some people might like that because it's a little slimmed down compared to other really beefy D&D combat. Some people really like a chunky combat, and it still has all the meat, but if you want to hear them adding up all the numbers every time, some people like that. Also, I think this podcast, from a plot perspective, is really interesting. I think it does fun stuff with the steampunk genre in a way that I really liked. Getting back to some of the side plots that happen, Troy comes from this really rich family where throughout the whole podcast he's kind of realizing what life is like for the people underground, and realizing that above ground they've created sort of this wonderland of gadgetry and wonder and splendor from all of the inventive minds of people who have developed this steampunk world, but they just cast off their trash to wherever, like in a hole in the ground for this other city to deal with. And that's applied sort of more generally to just not dealing with any of the bad sides of this stuff. There's a whole faction of people called the Future Thinkers who seem really prestigious to start, but then Runt gets really frustrated with them because she wants to share ideas and stuff to solve problems, and they just want to think about things and not actually do anything. So there's all these different aspects of a world that revolves around invention and, all the steampunk cogs and wheels and whistles and all of that stuff. But sort of the more complex sides of it and the different facets that emerge. Blink is also sort of wrapped up in the faction conflict that emerges out of this kind of environment where you're always competing for the resources that are available, because like whoever controls, there's this resource called the Wondrous Coal, where it's like if you control that resource, people will pay you a lot of money. And then if
Did you say the Wondrous Hole?
Coal, I believe.
Wondrous Coal.
The Wondrous Hole!
The Wondrous Hole.
Who wouldn't enjoy being in control of the Wondrous Hole?
There's things in there.
Can't tell you what.
Go in there.
Reach in and find out.
Yeah. And then I found Runt's storyline to be really compelling because Runt is, one, she's this teenage girl who's moving through these spaces with other adults, but she's like, I'm kind of a little bit a kid. I like want to grow up, but also like this is crazy. But also she has this illness where it's sort of a general like she's weaker in the body. Specifically her lungs are really impacted, so she's coughing all the time. And like they end up going somewhere really, really cold, and she struggles a lot because it impacts her lungs. And so it's this through line of the whole thing where she, one, getting medicine is difficult because she's in this underground city part where resources are cut off because people want power. And so she's suffered because of that. And also throughout the whole thing, she's making all of these gadgets and inventions to augment her body to help compensate for the fact that she's not as strong as everyone else. And eventually, I'm giving spoilers for the big stuff, but eventually she invents a new set of lungs for herself. And
that's so exciting.
It's really interesting.
I'm invested.
Yeah.
I like there was a big smile from Elizabeth on that one. Big smile.
Yeah. It's so good. Her whole storyline, because it's also really emotional. These people are good actors. And so, yeah, she like for real almost dies. And then when she invents these lungs, they use teleportation magic so that she doesn't have to be cut open for surgery. But it's like either it'll teleport into your body in the right way and you'll live, or it might go horribly wrong and you'll die instantly, or you might have X number of days to live. And that was left up to a dice roll.
Ooh.
That's crazy.
I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, also,
Yeah.
just do the surgery then. You know what I mean? You could just
she
do
didn't
surgery.
have a surgeon on hand. She was like dying and her family was around her and stuff. But she was like, I have to try this or I'll just die. And so this whole campaign, she's like, I'm running on limited time. I'm trying to do things to create change. And there's all these people in power who don't actually care about doing that. And it's so frustrating to her because she's like, I don't know how long I have. And you guys are all twiddling your thumbs because you have the luxury of doing so. And it's really interesting.
And that plus the added people, I assume, delegitimizing her because she's so young, because she is physically less able, all of that. I understand why that would be so compelling.
Yeah, she's such a good character. I love Runt. Also, she's the funniest little... She has... What's the accent? She's like, I'm the smartest girl in the world. And
New York, New
her
Jersey.
hair is bright purple. And she's just this little rat girl, and I love her so much.
So, Anna, you've kind of touched upon the characters and how you find them interesting. What of... This is a very Sam concern. Kind of before we get to your rating here, what about the ending? Like, does it wrap up well? Is it like, is the story interesting in the final bit, or do you think it falls flat? Because that's always my thing. It's like, if I'm going to listen to this, it's so long. Does it end well? Is it interesting?
Yeah, I think it ends well. I think for some people, it might feel like it doesn't have as much of an emotional punch because the main big bad comes in kind of late. So it's not necessarily the guy that you've been interacting with the whole campaign. This church is really introduced pretty late in the campaign. There are other characters that are involved in the big fight with the big guy from the church who they have interactions with. Some people who have switched sides a bunch of times because there's all these faction conflicts that aren't just black and white. So there's some people that they have to go try to convince to fight with them. There's some people who are working against them and they're like, why are you doing this? So that part is interesting, but I do think the biggest bad, some people might be like, this guy's kind of random. Like, it's cool that they went and like beat him up and it was a really difficult fight, but But I think surrounding that, beforehand, the stuff they have to do to prepare for that battle, and people they have to convince, and Runt's whole thing where she almost dies during this process and then gives herself new lungs. All of that is really fun, and then afterward, there's all the tableaus of what they go on to do in their lives, and that's really satisfying, and it was really, really good. So, I think overall, yes, the ending is good, but I think the one complaint is that the big bad, like, that was not a guy who was around in the first 15 episodes.
Yeah. So it's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel as earned.
It feels earned, but it's like, I don't care as much.
Yeah. Hard to get invested.
Yes.
No.
Well,
But
kinda.
the intersection with the world building there sounds interesting.
So kind of considering that honor, and considering that I know that you like, what is it? Roll 20? Roll for initiative?
Just roll with it?
Just roll with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you like this podcast. It sounds like maybe this didn't kind of end in the best way, but you like the characters. What would you rate this podcast? Especially relative to your other big D&D pods.
Yeah. I do think you're making me sound more negative. I liked the ending. I just think people might have gripes with that one part of it.
Mhm.
But for the most part, good.
I would
ending.
have gripes. It sounds like I would have gripes.
You might.
You're Gripes McGee.
Like I said, I think everything else surrounding that battle really interesting and great, and it did feel conclusive when it was done. Just that one battle, I was like, I'm here to see them do cool tricks. I don't care what the big bad does. I think my rating would be probably 3.5 pods.
Okay.
I think this is good. I would recommend it to a lot of people. I don't know if I would recommend it as sort of a first podcast for people getting into D&D podcasts or anything like that. I think it might be a little niche, because there's also definitely parts where I'm like, I can tell you were inspired by a part of D&D that you really like, that if you're completely new to D&D, you might be a little confused about that. Or there is a whole part in the middle where there's, I think, 2 or 3 episodes on this insane side quest that Bisley even was like, yeah, this was just me having fun, but it's sort of a reference to his other campaign that he DMs on Just Roll With It. So you're like, why are they all of a sudden in a completely modern building fighting something? It's because it's all stuff from his superhero campaign that he DMs. But it was really fun for them. So if you know at least a little bit of that context, it's fun. But if you don't at all, you're like, what's happening? So I think overall, good pod. But there's a couple things that I'm like, 3.5.
Yeah. Sounds like it's a solid addition to the D&D podcast pantheon.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best intro, but if you want more D&D content, it's there for you.
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't intro someone. If you want more, this is a good, not the longest in the world podcast to get into.
Speaking of not the longest in the world, Elizabeth, what podcast have you brought?
First of all, I am very long.
I'm longer than anything you've ever seen.
I'm longer
Don't
than anybody
speak to
you'll
me
ever
that
talk
way.
to. Many people are saying this. I'm very long. The podcast I have brought today is a very, very popular NPR podcast, This American Life. This American Life is very well known. Okay.
Honor, have you listened to This American Life?
I love This American Life.
I haven't. I've heard of it. I know it's
beloved.
eminent in the
Yes,
podcasting arena.
Certainly.
Many people have said it's very good. I've never listened.
This American Life is an NPR podcast. It is hosted by the indomitable Ira Glass. And why are you waving your hands at me?
Okay, because I got thoughts on this, all right? Because I knew
Okay.
you were talking about This American Life. So I was learning more about This American Life, you know, because it's one of the biggest podcasts around. So I feel like
true.
I have to know something to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hosted by Ira Glass. Okay. Ira Glass is like, I heard him referred to as the godfather of podcasting. He's like,
Yes.
he feels like he's like Zeus of podcasting. He's up on his
Kind of.
big cloud, you know?
If you start talking shit right now about Ira Glass, I'm going to throw you.
I'm
gonna
not,
come
okay,
back to
I'm not going to say
America
anything bad,
and
but
throw
this is
you.
the thing. I don't know really that much about him, right? In that I know that he's like a famous person. I know that he's connected with podcasting, but I don't know. Like, I don't know why he's so well respected. I learned a little bit more about him. He's, I think, best known for hosting This American Life, but he's also been on a lot of other NPR shows, like All Things Considered. And so I was just kind of wondering, Elizabeth, because you've heard it from the cup of glass himself.
I've drunk from the glass.
You've drunk from the glass. Is he like that great of a podcaster? You know what I mean? Do you feel like you listen to this and you're like, wow, this is one of the like the top people of his craft in podcasting. Like, does that feel that way when you listen?
So Ira Glass has been around for a while, and he is, I feel like, my understanding of him is that he's truly a radio journalist, and podcasting is just, that's what radio shows are now.
Yeah.
This American Life, the structure of it, Ira Glass is not talking the majority of the time. It is in segments, usually hosted or voiced by multiple people. I think part of the reason Ira Glass is so respected is his longevity. He's been around for a long time, hosting different things. Obviously, there's some prestige associated with working for NPR. But I think also he's a really skilled interviewer. He is not usually doing, or at least in the episodes I've listened to. I won't say that I've listened to all of This American Life because it's been around a while.
It's like started in the late 90s, right?
I don't know.
Like 97,
I don't know.
something like that?
I think it's also had multiple iterations, maybe.
Okay.
But anyway, he is not always, or maybe not even usually, doing the interviews himself on This American Life. He's usually commenting on the segments or giving extra context. Like I said, there's a lot of co-hosts, a lot of up-and-comers, and NPR will have a segment on This American Life. But I've heard people describe, and I've heard him describe previous interviews where he really knows, like, how to talk to people and how to take a new approach to information that differentiates him. All sorts of people. But anyway, that's what I have to say on Ira Glass.
Okay. I appreciate this perspective.
I haven't read his biography. I don't know.
Real quick, I will jump in just because I can't pass up on this direct application of my very niche area of study, because I have studied Ira Glass a lot because I studied audio storytelling.
Okay.
And we talked about Ira Glass specifically a lot. He is best known for interview shows, which creating an episode of something that is coherent from an interview is a lot harder than people think. So it's sort of this level of mastery over audio storytelling that is taken to this other level, because not only do you have to know how to script an audio story in a way that is digestible and approachable for an audience, but you also have to know how to direct another person into that structure. So you just have to have an even better grasp of all of those techniques and the structure and functions. So it's really impressive that way. And also, like Elizabeth said, there's a lot of other people on This American Life. A lot of these people are people that Ira Glass has taught, and Ira Glass has taught a lot of audio storytellers in radio and podcast space because he's been on these projects for so long. He's really developed a mastery of this craft. And so he's taught a lot of other people what they know. I read a technically graphic novel textbook about one of the people who learned under him. He was involved in its creation. So I think that's also another part of it, is not only that he has
Honor, if
mastery
I may
over this.
just interrupt you. I just watched...
Just buried the lead so much there, man.
When you said
Yeah.
graphic novel textbook, I watched Sam take on an expression of shock in which his mouth went from a circle about the size of a pinhole and slowly expanded. So I think he might have a comment on that.
Hey, I just don't know that I don't want to take us on too much of a detour, but what are you talking about, dude? Is this like the action Bible? Like, what is it? What do you mean by visual? It was a comic book. You had a comic book for a class.
Yeah, it was a graphic novel because in a lot of ways, Ira Glass and other experts in radio and audio storytelling will talk about the fact that it is in some ways a very visual medium, because since there aren't actually visuals, you're always working to help the listener develop a visual when you're telling an audio story. So the author was like, there's sort of something to be gained here by having a visual component to talking about podcasting, that kind of thing. So, there was a graphic
Honor,
novel.
you and me are going to have to talk more about this
Off the air.
mic. Yeah, because I have so many questions about how this came to be. But Elizabeth, you've come with some notes prepared about this, so I'll let you get back to it. I've taken us on a detour.
It's okay.
What were you going to say about it? This American
So the notes I have prepared, I've written down, I don't know if they're my 3 favorites, but 3 of my favorite This American Life episodes. They are number 835, Children of Dave, number 858, How to Tell a Dumb American Story, and number 859, Chaos Graph. This American Life, if you're not familiar with it, the structure of it is there will be a topic for each episode, and it can be quite broad. and variable. There's one that's not on here, but there's one episode all about like people who encountered the exact right person to deal with the problem that they had. Like one of the segments in that episode is there's a young blind woman who is very like insecure about dating and doesn't know how to approach it, and she meets this other blind woman who is like in her upper 70s and has had a like true swath of lovers and 2 affairs. And so like
I like a swath of lovers. That is like if there's a herd of lovers, it's a swath.
Yes,
you know? Like
she knows her way around. And what I like about This American Life is that like there's always these normal everyday people on it. Sometimes they'll interview somebody who like might get interviewed on another podcast, but it is what it sounds like. Like it's really a slice of life, and you get to learn these stories and these gears turning in people's lives that you don't get a lot of the time in publications like this. And that's my favorite thing. Like one of my favorite things is just like talking to people on the bus. And so I really like it. The 3 I have chosen, I will summarize them a little bit and why I like them. So Children of Dave is the first one. This is a pretty unique episode, actually. The reason I like it is hosted and edited and designed by Bowen Wang. He's a guest journalist in this episode. And what it's about is him tracing back some of his current attitudes about himself and about life and some of his experiences, tracing those back to his immigrant parents being introduced to Christianity. His parents are Chinese. When they came to America in college, they got picked up by a man named Dave and became Christian, and that impacted him in a lot of ways. And so it's just going through that whole thing. There's an interview with Dave, etc. But Bowen Wang has a really fascinating style of design and editing. He has audio effects. He has like cutaways within his own voice. It's just really fascinating, and so it's a good listen. It's a
interesting.
Good listen.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that
especially
even know
if you are a nerd about like, it's like I felt what film people feel about this episode. Like the way that it's structured was really interesting. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but Bowen Wang, Children of Dave, 8:35. Episode 858, How to Tell a Dumb American Story, follows a Native American couple. Their daughter I think she's in her early 20s, was struck and killed by a driver in a hit and run, and it is the trajectory of them trying to get justice for that, which also something I learned listening to that episode is that hit and runs is something that happens very disproportionately to Native American people.
Whoa.
But anyway, it's them trying to get justice for that, and those 2 people are very open about how it impacted their relationship and their marriage. Because when it comes to the final court date of like pursuing criminal persecution versus pursuing a settlement, the 2 of them are divided about what they think they should do and what's the best course of action. They're also trying to get some legislation passed, I believe. And so it's just a really interesting trajectory. It's like a year or more of these people's lives. It's sad, obviously.
Yeah, it sounds very sad.
Yeah.
But it is a really fascinating story, and I learned a few things. Finally, episode 859, Chaos Graph, is one where it's about looking at the statistics or looking at certain numbers within the lives of people who are immersed in chaos. And so one thing was, this episode came out shortly after there were huge pools of funding for research in the United States. And so there's one scientist looking at like what that looks like, who's losing their funding, all sorts of stuff. There are several segments, but the most notable segment to me, which is actually kind of a hard listen, so I'll warn you for that, they did some interviewing with American doctors who are working in Palestine, and about the kind of injuries they've been seeing, who those injuries happen to, all sorts of stuff, which is interesting in and of itself. But also in that episode, they have an interview with an Israeli soldier, which I have not found anywhere else. Like, I haven't found anyone being able to talk about Palestine with people on the other side of it. Well, let's not say the other side of it, but
yeah, we
sure. But so we get that perspective of like, for Israeli soldiers, what are the messages they're receiving? How does it vary unit to unit? What kinds of behaviors has he seen his fellow soldiers do? All sorts of stuff, and I had never seen a perspective like that before, so it was really interesting. Yeah.
No, Elizabeth, it kind of sounds like these episodes are sad. I mean, obviously
I picked some heavy ones.
I was going to say, is this kind of the normal? Is it like a, man, I'm going to listen to This American Life, and I can do this like I can do this max once a week? Because this is like important, but it's heavy. Or is it these are the ones that really impacted you and have stuck with you?
I would say the latter. I think these ones really impacted me and stuck with me. A lot of them are really light. Like there was one of the first episodes I listened to, I don't remember what it was, but it was about like an artist who is also like a waste management guy, and so he like goes into the trash and finds stuff in the trash and like or like there's an episode talking about do you remember in New York when they made a task force to manage the rat problems, and like the leader of the task force was the rat czar?
No. Oh. That sounds awesome. I get
There's a government position in New York, the rat czar, unless I'm wrong, which is possible. But
the fictitious rat czar.
The rat czar, who is like in charge of trying to manage rats in New York and like manage disease control, all that sorts of stuff. Then there was some new legislation and action coming out about that. And so in that episode, they talked to a bunch of people who are working for that, like working for the task force. They talk maybe to the rat czar, etc. But they also have an interview with 2 New York rats. Yes. Which the New York rats, I wish I had written down what episode this is. The New York rats, it's like 2 people with the pitch of their audio turned way up high. So they have like little tiny cheekbone voices and like really thick New York accents. And they're like, we're just trying to live our lives. Like, da, da, da. And so, no, not all the episodes are heavy. I think a lot of the episodes are real slice of life, but they do tend to be poignant either way. And so I don't think it's like just like a light nothing comedy podcast. Occasionally they are still funny or really lighthearted. But yes, I think I've chosen 3 rather heavy episodes because they've stuck with me. They do have some episodes that are really heavy. And some that are all giggles.
But it can also, they tell that story in a way that is not overwhelming. That like you still feel like you're getting that humanity. Is that true? So like one of the heaviest episodes I listened to, which for a while on their Spotify profile, it was the most shared, is an episode about, they have a correspondent who lived in Palestine and moved to Egypt, and his family is still in Palestine. Like I think his sister lived like in Gaza proper, like they were really close to everything. And it's about like going through their family group chats and seeing on certain dates what happened, where, what is the situation, what has the situation been like. And that episode is very heavy, but it permitted me to engage with that in a way that I hadn't been emotionally able to before, like to look at what that experience is like for people currently. So I do think it does a good job of like letting people see what other people are going through. Yeah. It's not just like this is what's going on in politics and with nations. It's a very personal
It feels nothing like a news report. It's very, very human, very personal, which I really love. And that can be for super heavy things, and that can be for like, hey, you know, we're hosting this craft event at the library or whatever. Like, that's why it's called This American Life, which that's not American, but it is just looking at regular people's lives and what's happening in them, which I really love because there are so many wondrous things that humans do, and there's not enough time in my life to go see all of them and appreciate all of them. And so I really love having these themes where I can go listen to it for an hour and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Elizabeth, I think that's really interesting. So when I was reading up on This American Life, I read that a lot of it was journalism, but in the first person. I was like, what does that mean? But it sounds like really what that means is it's the correspondent, the journalist, telling kind of a personal story or talking about their experience interviewing these people and
I would say so.
With these people.
I would say so. The journalists and who they are as people is always very much a part of it, I think. Like they'll talk often about like, oh, this is how this interview impacted me. Like when this person said this thing, I felt this twang in my chest or whatever. Yeah, and I really enjoy that part of it too. It's like I said, it could not be further from like depersonalized. That's not what depersonalized means.
Yeah. You feel like it's that human element that it's a lot more emotional, and it taps into that more than other things.
Yes, it always.
I saw that Ira Glass had this quote about when they were making the show that they kind of wanted to make public radio for people that didn't really like public radio. Do you feel like that's true? Have you listened to other NPR podcasts and you're like, wow, this is really different? Or you're like, it's all kind of the same?
I think it's somewhat true. Okay. You can definitely tell that all the people work for NPR. Yeah. Or at least like have kind of gone to the Ira Glass school of radio training. Sure. But it does feel different from other NPR podcasts. Like even ones that talk about like broad human things, like all things considered or whatever, when I have listened to them, I don't like them as much as This American Life. Yeah, it just is consistently, regardless of what the topic is, very human, very personal, very poignant and emotional. And I think they make a point of that, and that's what I enjoy about it so much.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, right before we get to your rating, which is, you like all these stories, but they're also kind of they're different stories. They're about different things, and they're by different people.
Yes.
Do you think? I mean, what are the odds that you listen to an episode and you're like, this is a good one? Is there much variance there, or you're like, they're all Ira Glass-ish guys, and so they're delightful? Like, it's all probably going to be good.
I think they are all good. I definitely will enjoy a certain segment more than another one. I've never listened to an episode where I was like, oh, that sucked. You know?
Yeah.
They're all very well produced and thoughtfully written, but I definitely do enjoy certain segments more than others. And it is not like listening to a bunch of tiny Ira Glasses. They all definitely have their own spin. I think the journalists also come from very diverse backgrounds, and a lot of the time they seek out stories that they can apply their own experience to.
That rocks, Elizabeth. What? Okay, this sounds awesome. I feel like I need to get into This American Life, lest I not be a real fan of podcasts as a concept.
Yeah.
You've made me feel insecure in
Everyone
that way.
should.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Honestly, we should talk about This American Life as a whole episode.
It
so
has so much to it. Also, there's an episode about the Iowa State Fair that's really good. Sorry, I just remembered about that. That didn't make my list, but there's an episode about the Iowa State Fair that's really good.
So, well, then maybe we will. Maybe we'll do our own book club on this as a look ahead, as a preview of that episode. Elizabeth, what's your rating? Like, what should our rating be? What do you think?
It's a tough question. I think that it is a very well crafted pod. And so for that gives it higher points. But I do think how much an individual person will enjoy an episode or a segment of an episode is going to be very subjective.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 3.85
Wow.
out of 5 pods.
Wow.
Specific. Not quite
Yes.
breaking the 4 mark.
Yeah.
We're getting close.
Yeah, it's highly variable. The other thing is I think it's been going on for so long that I can't speak kind of to what the older generation of episodes is like, because a lot of the ones you'll notice, like all of the ones I did came from the 800s, which is the most recent season. A lot of the old episodes, at least on Spotify, are locked, and you have to pay for them. I do think on the This American Life website, though, you can, or on the NPR website, you can listen to any of them.
Weird.
I believe that's true.
Yeah, but like episodes, all the episodes I've listened to are quite recent. So like how much Ira Glass is talking, or how much the topics vary, or the structure of the pod might have changed over time.
You're not reviewing all 800 episodes.
Yeah.
That's it. That's okay. And I don't think anyone is going to listen to all 800 episodes.
You never know.
God bless him. If you got the time, go for it.
Yeah. Okay.
will.
The oldest episodes on Spotify are from, I'm seeing 1996.
Wow. That's perhaps the longest running podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's oldie.
1995, episode 1.
Whoa.
Our program's very first broadcast, 1995.
Wow.
I do remember this podcast is old enough that they used to cut it together by actually cutting it together
Physically.
from tape.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Thank you, Elizabeth, for this wonderful and crazy podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of crazy, it's time to head over to the Podpodcastcast pod@gmail.com inbox.
The Podpodcastcast pod@gmail.com inbox?
The Podpodcastcast pod@gmail.com inbox.
Certainly.
This is where you can send us all your wonderful fan mail. If you have anything you want to say to us, anything you want us to read, if you want to suggest episodes for us to do, you don't have to do what Elizabeth does and come on and talk about a podcast for us to talk about that podcast. You can send us an email. We'll read it out. We'll tell you what we think about that podcast.
So true.
We have one little email here. The subject line of this email is Dear Sam. Dear Sam, you are stinky. Elizabeth DeConfy. I like that you, Elizabeth, you signed off this email with your name. Your full name. This is not only is it like on your Gmail account, you signed it off in a separate serif font. Like you got fancy with it. Don't slap the table. Don't giggle in my podcast studio and slap the table.
I have an automatic signature that I did not remove. Wait, no, I don't want Honor to feel left out. I'll do a different one.
You can't have multiple email. Okay,
It's okay.
you also can't email in while you're on the podcast.
No, that's not true.
No, you can't.
Watch this, bitch. I don't know if I'm allowed to
Hold
curse.
on,
I probably
I'll
shouldn't have.
I'll go ahead and open the inbox.
Watch this.
Well, it's delightful. Thank you, Elizabeth, for emailing in.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Listener, if why? Sorry. So
Oh
I
my
was
gosh, we have another email.
Oh my God, you have
Read
another
off this
email.
I was gonna move
It says,
on.
"Dear Honor, I love Italy." Elizabeth DeConfey.
And just to be clear, that I is 2 eye emojis.
Yeah,
Like
I'm looking.
you're
Yeah.
Dear Honor. Huh?
Dear Honor. Ding ding.
Yeah. All right. Elizabeth, thank you for coming in and sending these wonderful emails. And thank you for potting with us.
Woo!
Listener,
love
if
to
you want to
pod.
send us wonderful emails, you're absolutely welcome to at podpodcastcastpod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on all of our socials, some version of Podpodcastcast. You'll find it. It'll be Honor. Honor will put it in the description. Thanks, Honor.
Yeah.
Also, leave us a review. Give us 5 stars. I need that
5
for
stars.
my validation. Give it to me.
He needs it so bad. Especially, he's feeling really insecure after that email.
Okay. All right. Elizabeth, thank you
Yeah.
for potting with me. And Elizabeth, where can the good people of the internet find you?
I make music and some such things, and you can find all of it under the name Elizabeth Knox Music, KNOX, Instagram, YouTube, maybe Spotify by the time you hear this. Probably not.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Honor, thank you for potting with me. Listener, thank you for listening.
Sam, thank you for potting with us.
And
Honor, thank you for potting with us.
Elizabeth, thank you for being wonderful.
You're welcome.
Ah.
bye.